it's mindset cafe, we all got that mindset. Gotta stay focused, never settle for less. It's all in your head, how you think you manifest. So get ready to rise, cause we about to be the best. Gotta switch it up, gotta break the old habits. Get your mind right, turn your dreams into habits. No negative vibes, only positive thoughts. Yeah, it's mindset cafe, we all.
What's up, guys? Welcome to another episode of the Mindset Cafe podcast. As you can see, we are doing it via webcam versus our normal streaming cameras because, we got those natural technical difficulties. So anyone that's looking for a video internship, podcast video internship, reach out. I got you. I'll give you the hours, But with that being said, welcome to another Friday Night Live. Tonight's topic, every rep counts, learning the growth, learning the experience, all from the data from every single repetition that you've done now and in the future. So with further ado, it's your host, your normal host, myself, Devin, and then our Friday Night Live host,
Hick. What's up, guys?
Nicholas Abweg. But diving into it and why we wanted to talk about why every rep counts and what it really means. It's all about the actions that you take, right? No matter how small or insignificant they may seem, they contribute to your overall growth, your overall success. And that's through each attempt at doing something, you're learning how to do it better the next time. You're learning what works, what doesn't work, right? So I know this is one of those topics that Nick wanted to cover. This is something that, he tells our team all the time when he's working with them, and something that I tell, our franchisees. It happens with the reps. You have to put the reps in. So let's dive into it. Go into what does, it just requires the reps. What does that mean?
All right. So when you hear the term, or when we say put the reps in, it's gaining the experience and the knowledge necessary, to pretty much hone your skill in whatever you're doing. Because if you can't expect to get things right or do something perfectly the first time.
Right.
So constant repetition and implementing, obviously, the lessons that you learn along the way to do something right is the foundation and what's necessary to, kind of attain the skill or do something right. But also, on top of that, it's the quality of your reps, right? Because it could be something to where, you're trying to practice something or you're doing something. Let's just say working out. If you're doing incorrect form on an exercise, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter how many reps you do, because you're still not doing the exercise properly. You're not going to gain the benefits of the exercise because you're not doing the reps with proper form. So, in the same concept too, kind of and I think we've said this in the past where we're you can go to a workout, you can go do a workout, right? And if you half-ass a workout, or if you don't give the workout your full intent, your full capacity, and everything you have, it's gonna be, I don't want to say pointless, but you're not gonna gain the maximum benefit of it.
Right.
You know what I mean?
And if you're not doing something to gain the maximum benefit, then it is kind of pointless.
Yeah.
Right. Because you could be doing something else that you're going to put your effort into to gain the full benefit of.
Yeah, you're probably wasting your time.
Right. Look at us. We're on, I think this is episode 130 something. Right. Yeah, it's crazy,
Yeah.
Right? But doing this over the last, it's going to be 2 years next month that we started the podcast. On the original Strive Tribe podcast, that was 2 years ago in October. But the first few podcasts, they were rough. They were definitely rough. One, talking in front of a camera is already kind of intimidating, especially when you're first starting out, and let alone trying to figure out what topics we're going to talk about. Does people like this? Am I talking the way that people, like to listen? And then you start to learn your style. You start to learn what people like, what people don't like. But again, if you go back and listen to our episode 1 or 2, or even the first 10 versus, the last, 10, completely different, but it's all through the repetitions of doing it and getting more comfortable and getting better at it, doing an episode. And for us, doing an episode and the quality of the audio was horrendous on some of them. I'm embarrassed to hear some of them because they were just choppy, or we didn't really know how to use the audio equipment and stuff at the time. Obviously, it's still getting better and better with time, but it's one of those things where, again, like if we would have stopped after episode 10 or after episode 20, like it wouldn't have continued to progress. So realizing that every rep counts also goes into, it's going to take more than one attempt at doing something to be successful at it. And that goes for anything in life, right? You ask one girl out to a date, she says no, and you never ask another girl out to a date. Well, fuck, you're going to be a lonely person, right? And vice versa. But let's go into opening a business, right? If you go to open your first business and it doesn't work out as planned, or you try to launch an online store, it doesn't go as well as planned, and then you never do it again, well, yeah, now entrepreneurship wasn't for you because you didn't give it the time, you didn't put in the reps that it needed to acquire the skills, to acquire the tools and the resources needed to make it successful, right? And that's why, like Kobe Bryant, Michael Jordan, all those guys shot so many like free throws and shots before games, before practices, because they knew with reps becomes mastery.
Yeah.
Right. And then it was one of those things where they could do it with their eyes closed. And then it was, to them, common sense.
Right.
But it was through the repetitions, through the constant work and doing it over and over again, that it became common sense. Right. But it wasn't common sense in the beginning. Right. So in the comments, please, one, contribute. Two, let's hear what is something that you've been working on and you realize that it's constant work and you're basically learning with every repetition or every attempt at it. So repetition doesn't mean just like reps in the gym, like curls and, literally rep 1, rep 2. Repetition just means attempts, right? So what is something you're currently working on in your life, whether it's fitness, whether it's professionally, whether it's personally? What is something that you're currently working on that you are putting in the reps to get better and better at?
Drop it in the comments.
But let's dive into it while, some people, one, hop on the feed and two, hop in the comments. But let's dive into it a little bit.
So the next thing that we want to cover is the value of the first rep, starting from zero. Like the first time you do something is always the hardest, right? But it's also where the most significant learning happens. Because, for example, you're launching your first business or doing your first public speaking or even your first day at the gym. It's where you lay you're kind of laying ground there. You're setting the foundation, because you can't run before you got to crawl, then you walk, then you run. Mm-hmm. So you can't run without crawling first. It's where you start to understand the basics, right? It's how you learn, learn the ropes, as like the saying goes. It's where you're learning pretty much the basic skills needed to where from there, that's where you're going to excel. But you can't excel if you don't take that first step.
Yeah. I mean, you always start from zero. You always start from the ground floor, right? Whether it's you're reading to learn something, you're just doing something to learn something and learn through trial and error, you always start from zero until you acquire some knowledge. And a lot of that knowledge is acquired through that first attempt. You realize that it's easier in theory than in practice, right? And Nick loves when I say, in theory, this will work, right? But then we learn once we actually do it, and usually the theory doesn't play out as well as it did in my head. But we adjust after the first one. We get some data, we get some data points to basically be like, okay, well, let's adjust this, let's try it again here. Maybe if we use these words, whatever the case may be, then we can adjust, right? But unless you take that first step and you take that first initiative of just trying, knowing that it may not and most likely won't work as well as you thought it was going to, you're not going to be able to get enough data to improve, to be successful. Like the people that you see doing what you want to do in any area of life, they've put in the reps to get there, right? You only see the tip of the iceberg, like we talked about. You have to put in the reps. They may have been doing this for 10 years, and you're only seeing the last year of it, right? What is the time frame that it takes to acquire those skills? And you realize that you might have to go longer, it might happen shorter, but again, it's going to take some time. You have to trust the process, and you have to be patient, actively patient, and basically working day in, day out to acquire the skills needed, right?
Yeah, so like just to add to what you said, like about the tip of the iceberg, where people, we see, people that have the skill already acquired. keep in mind that those people did start with the first step as well. They didn't, again, the kind of like what I said before, they didn't just wake up or like one day start doing it and it was perfect, right? They also started from square one. They also had to do the first thing, learn the foundation of it and take their first step and do the first rep. And from there, every time they did a rep, you get better and better and better. And the same concept to us, whatever you are trying to do or whatever skill you're trying to acquire, you're not going to better that skill or even get it or even learn how to do it or excel without taking that first step.
No, definitely. I mean, what's something like, that for you personally, let's go into like the business aspect. Like, what is something for you that you realized was only learned through repetition?
Sales, first thing.
So
Yeah.
I want you to cover that, because I mean, that's huge. And people think, well, I'm not in sales, or I don't, my career or my job, I don't need to sell. Yes, you do. You want a promotion? How do you get a promotion? Sell yourself. Hold on. Pause. You don't sell yourself. You sell your abilities.
What are you selling?
You sell your abilities and your basically your position to earn that promotion, right? So you have to be able to sell the fact that you're the most qualified. You want a boyfriend, you want a girlfriend, whatever, you have to sell to them why you'd be a valuable asset essentially in their life, right? What is dating you going to benefit them? Everything is a sale in life. Sales doesn't just revolve around money. It revolves around anything. I had to sell Nick on the idea of opening the gym, right? I had the idea. Me and him were friends beforehand. I know we've talked about this before. Me and him were friends. I trained him for the bodybuilding competition. He was doing his own personal training thing. I had my personal training company. And then I had the idea and I was like, dude, we should just join forces. And I sold him on the idea. And then we basically launched together. And now we've evolved the original concept, which was very, very vague compared to what it is now. And we've evolved it together. But again, we took that first step and that first rep of just doing the base foundation. And then we basically improved and tweaked as we needed. But what is something for you in related to like sales that, we used to talk about, or, in your own mind that you realized you got to practice?
Yeah. So, I mean, when we first started, I came from Kaiser, so medical background, literally no sales experience. And I know there's actually a lot of people that have had, worked in retail when they were younger in high school or so on and so forth. I actually didn't have it. I actually didn't work in any kind of retail. So I had zero background in any kind of sales or talking about, trying to sell something. So when we first opened, I think that was one of the biggest things for me to have to learn. I remember when we were still building the gym. The gym wasn't even open. And we had Denny here.
Yep.
You, me, and Denny were like literally just talking about, because he used to work at Sprint. And like we were all just running, how to even talk to people for me, to talk to them and pretty much start a sales conversation. Mm-hmm. And to me, like I was nervous and I was scared because it's like, how am I going to convince another person, or at least I didn't understand at that time, like the concept of showing another person the value of something and why it's going to be worth something to them, right? And why it's going to benefit them. So not having that knowledge in the beginning, that was the biggest thing for me to try to wrap my brain around. And it was something that I had to realize, especially when we did finally open, because it was just me and you, mm-hmm. No one else, just me and you. And like the people that were interested and that came in and wanted to try it out, I remember, bro, like when somebody came in for a 3-day pass, I was like, okay, I could train them, right? I can explain how the program works, and then take them through the training. But as soon as like they got halfway done, like I started to sweat, not even from demonstrating. I started to sweat because I'm like, damn, what am I going to say when they're done? How am I going to say it? What's the right thing to say? Like they're going to think I'm full of shit. You know what I mean? Even though I'm just trying to help them, but every single person, every single member now that I took, those are the repetitions that I had to embrace. Did I suck in the beginning? Yeah, I did. You know what I mean? But I understood the objective, and understanding that for me to achieve the goal and for me to do what I have to do, like I have to put those reps in. And with every single person, every single sale that I pretty much took from then, it has literally formed and evolved me to where I am now. I'm not saying like I'm good or great or anything, but definitely a lifetime from where I was in the beginning. But I wouldn't be where I am now if I didn't take the first step, that first sale, the first conversation, and then took every single one afterwards. And with every single one afterwards to come, learn the lessons, pick up everything that I could have learned, what to do, what not to do, and like, what words to say or how people kind of responded, their body language, and every little, it's all in the details. Yeah. Every detail counts. And taking all those things into, kind of as a lesson and applying it the next time is how pretty much like that knife gets sharpened.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, the devil's in the details. And that's one thing I want to like kind of touch on. Well, before I touch on that part, like what's the important thing to like remember with what Nick's saying too is me and him were, what he was referring to with Denny is that me and him were due essentially dry runs of just, this is how you basically do a whole sales presentation, blah, blah, blah. And we do it over and over and over again. But just like a lot of things in life, you want to learn how to, edit videos and all that kind of stuff. You get a template, right? And then with that template, yes, you can just follow it exactly like that, but it doesn't fit your personality or your lifestyle or, your calendar. And so you think that it doesn't work for you. But the thing is, you need to tweak those templates to sound like you, to, fit your basically natural language, the way you speak, the way you, convey message, or to your, lifestyle as well. So with like Nick, one of the bigger things that he started to improve on is when he made it his own and realized that you have to make those tweaks, right? So making those tweaks and making it your own and making it work for you is a huge aspect, right? Mm-hmm. But then going into like the devil's in the details, you have to realize that every small detail does matter with any skill or any asset that you're trying to acquire in life. But the thing is, you have to focus on the macro, basically like the big picture first, and then you could focus on the micro, the smaller, devil in the details kind of things, because you can't perfect something when the overall picture is still broken, right? So first thing is fix the big components of it or adjust those until they're working, fairly well. And then you break those big components into smaller components, and then you start breaking those down. And that goes with, lifting, that goes with anything. Like you're trying to lose weight. Well, the first thing, if you've never worked out, is fucking go work out, right? That's the first big detail. Work out. Eat cleaner, work out. Two big aspects, right? Maybe third one, getting better sleep. Then from there, once that becomes more natural for you, then it's like, okay, well, one of those things, let's say for, your nutrition, let's say you're just doing normal, workouts, just walking or running or whatever you want to do. First one is like, okay, let's try to figure out your macros. Now we got that down. Okay, now what are you actually doing for your workouts? And then we'll break that down, because each time you adjust the micro within the macro, you're going to start to see change. You're going to see results. You're going to see improvements. So it's like you don't need to do everything at once every single time and adjust everything. It's like focus on one, improve that, you're going to get a little better results. Then adjust the next thing, get a little better results. Adjust the next thing, and so forth. And then you come back, and then you try to perfect it again, and you perfect it again, and then you keep going through. It's just always constant revisions, right? Mm-hmm. So I think that's one of the biggest things that, and not just with sales, but with anything in life, realizing that just like yourself, just like your mindset, just like you in your professional life, there's always room for growth and always room for improvement. But realize that it happens in stages, and then you need to repeat, because you can always get better. If you think you're the best that you can be, well, now you've just stunted your growth, because I guarantee you there's someone better than you, and they've gotten there. They're human. You can get there too if you want it, right? You just need to take those next steps like they have in your own right and basically acquire those skills and those, tools.
Yeah. We do have some new people that, was able to just jump back in. If you want to reiterate the question. So they can hop in on
I think the question is right at the bottom now. I think it's on the screen. But what is something that you are currently working on and putting the reps in to improve, right? What are you currently trying to get better at? Is it sales? Is it your mindset? Is it working out? Is it your fitness? Is it, your relationship? Is it, your finances? What are you currently working on? and focusing on each day and trying to improve it each day, basically rep after rep or day after day.
Yeah, you guys can be as specific as you want, but let us know in the comments.
But I mean, just like reps in the gym, right? Like, going into what reps really are, that's how, muscle memory is formed, right? And with anything in life, when you start to do something over and over and over again, yes, you get better at it, but also the earlier versions, as they improve, you've done it so many times that that's just your new gold standard, right? Mm-hmm. That's where you don't have to, let's say again, Michael Jordan, Kobe Bryant, any of the basketball players, like the dudes that are at the top level, like you give them a basketball and put them at the free throw line, most times they're going to just, sink the shot, right? Obviously they're, not 100% of the time, but I would say 90% of the time. Why? Because they put the reps in. They don't need to sit there and, focus forever. It's literally get there, boom, shoot, and majority of the time it's going to go in because they put the rep in.
And it's the amount of effort and time and effort that they put in on those reps too. Like, since those are the examples that we're on, like if you guys have ever heard of, Michael Jordan or Kobe Bryant in the past, like talk about like their practice and their work ethic. They talk about like how much more time and how many more hours they put in themselves when no one else was in the gym. When they say that, like, oh, I was shooting free throws, I was practicing by myself when no one else was in the gym, they're talking about the reps.
Yep.
And like other people have said, like, do you know how many things, like, how many more shots they've missed than they have made? Well, those are the reps right there. But they put in so much more of those reps, and they put so much more reps and allotted more time that's why they got to that level way better than everyone else, because they put in way more reps.
Right. And I mean, with putting in reps too, again, since, the question goes into any area of life, finances, relationships, all that kind of stuff, but you need to track, right? You have to track it so that you get data that you can improve, right? In the gym, let's say we have the body composition scan, right? You get on there not to see the one time where you're at currently. You're doing it so you can see where you're at currently versus the time you were, you weighed in before and you got your muscle mass, your body fat percentage, your water retention, all those things, so that you can compare. Is it improving? Is it, decreasing? And if it's improving, obviously you're doing something right. Keep doing it. And now let's try to fine tweak it to make it even better. If it goes the opposite way, now you realize, okay, well, have you been, actually doing what you need to do, or have you been slacking off? And then you can adjust course essentially and continue to improve. Let's say for, that's in terms of working out, right? Let's talk about, let's say again, working out, let's say strength, right? If you've been stuck at a certain weight trying to lift it, well, one, how many times have you tried it? How many times have you hit, 8 reps? How many times have you hit 10 reps? When is it? Have you hit 10 reps consistently for the X amount of, days, weeks, whatever? Like, if you don't know those things and you're just going off guesses, then you can't really track to improve those certain lifts, right?
It's funny you said that. Shout out G. G always coming through. I actually put that in the comment. She said, working on getting stronger and growing. So just like Devin said, that's, tracking your progress on pretty much like your lifts and like what you're doing. It's like that's how you're going to gauge it, like if you are getting stronger and if you're growing. I think she meant muscle growth, right?
Yeah.
So,
I mean, and you'll see certain people in the gym, and like the average gym goer, like let's say commercial gyms, not Strive 11, but like commercial gyms, like you'll see like that one guy or, a couple of people that will literally have a little notebook and they're writing down after the reps and stuff. And then you look at them and you will kind of laugh to yourself, but at the same time, like those are the dudes that are tracking what they're doing so that they can come back to the next gym session and try to improve it, right? They're trying to get better. So it's one of those things where you actually tracking the numbers and you trying to get stronger. Like, how many times are you lifting? How many times are you doing, let's say, leg day? How many times during your leg day are you dedicating to, a deadlift, to a squat, or are you doing a lot of the adductors and abductors and doing all the, Instagram workouts, right? Or are you doing the shit that's actually going to make you grow and get stronger in what you're trying to do? Because it's two completely different fields, right? there's actually like 3 different areas. Are you trying to get stronger, right? Then there's exercises, there's a rep range, there's, set ranges, all those kind of things for getting stronger. And then, or are you just trying to look better, like aesthetically, in terms of, let's say, a physique competitor or something like that? Well, again, there's rep ranges, there's set ranges, there's, muscle grouping that you want to do together and data to track. Or are you trying to do it for endurance? Or are you trying to do it for a sport? Again, there's different rep ranges, set ranges, and so forth for each of those, right? So you have to know that there's different data to track and different data to do or different reps to do when you're doing those things. But if you don't track what you're currently doing, how could someone, let's say you hire a coach, how can you tell them what you've been doing if you don't have any data to show them? Like if someone walks in, they're like, I want to lose weight. I've been trying to lose weight. I lost, 15 pounds. I'm like, all right, cool. Of what? Like, was it muscle? Was it fat? Was it water weight? Was it like, what have you been doing? Right? How did you weigh yourself? How did you measure that? All those kind of things. The more data that you have, the easier it is to give feedback and the easier it is to make adjustments so that you can improve your future results and your future performance.
Mm-hmm. And just funny example of what you're talking about, the tracking. So Patty, shout out Patty, I know you're watching.
I saw Patty had a beer the other day on social media.
Really?
I don't know. She said she didn't, but the video said otherwise.
Patty, stop playing. But so speaking about tracking your progress, Patty, she wanted to measure our biceps. So she took the tape measure here. She measured her my bicep, and then she measured her bicep, and her bicep is 13 inches. And then I think it was, some time passed by, like a couple of weeks later, she literally sends me a message on Instagram. She said, guess what? And I was like, what? She's like, I just measured my bicep again. Now it's 13 and a half. I was like, there you go. You grew a half an inch. That's great. But see how you track that progress, Patty? Like you measured your bicep. It was like a certain circumference. And now you measured it again with some time in between. You put the reps in between. I know that. And you grew half an inch. So perfect example.
Who else did you send that you grew half an inch to? Nicole, if you're watching.
She left.
How many times has Nick sent that?
Joanne said the progress with some musical notes. And then G dropping in the comments again. Shout out G. Oh, that's a good one. And forever being a better mom.
Something like that. I mean, that's a solid one to put in the comments because this is a perfect example. Like some things are hard to track, right? For example, improving as a mom, improving as a dad. But there are certain things that you can track, right? You can't track every single moment. But what you can track is okay, how much quality time did I spend with them today, this week, right? Next week, I'm going to try to spend more quality time. How much time was I on the phone when they were in my presence? How much time did we just watch TV together, right? Yes, that's quality time to a degree, but during that time, could you guys have been playing a board game? Like what activities did you guys do? How much time are you guys doing activities? How many times did you engage in conversation with them? How was your day? Tell me something good. Tell me something bad. All those kind of things. You can track those kind of things, right? Track the memorable moments that you're having with them. Because, as a dad, I realize that time does fly very fast. Nick has already seen, through proxy of how fast, my daughter is growing. And it's like, damn, it's both of us are, kind of stunned that is going fast. We're so involved in the business and stuff. And I do make it a point to try to spend quality time, basically schedule out quality time and stuff for them as well. But if that's something that you're trying to do, realize there are certain key things that you can, track that you can improve, because it's not about how many things that you say to the person, to your kids, that matter. Really, they just want to be there with you. Right. And if you're there, but you're not really there, you're not present, you're not, emotionally present, then again, whether you're there or not, does it really make a difference to that person, to your kids? Yeah.
G also said, I'm that person at the gym putting my reps and weights in my notes. That's good. See, but that's how you do it. I know most people kind of if you guys have seen people at a regular commercial gym, writing their stuff down. I'm sure some people's perspective is kind of like, the hell, like just work out, bro. Like, but the thing is, those details are what matter. Like they probably know how much progress that they've made rather than, in comparison to those people that are just judging.
Yep.
Which kind of just goes a little bit into like, fuck what everyone else thinks, because your reps are your reps. They're not doing your reps, and so.
I mean, like even if, let's say someone's judging you, right, for actually taking notes and taking the time to write down that data so that you can improve yourself. Those are the same people that in a year or in a month, in a year, in 5 years, that are going to be asking, how did you do it?
Mm-hmm.
And then you're like, you've seen what I've done. Like I post my stuff on social media, do all this stuff. It's literally, I've just focused on improving, and it's the writing down to the small details that matter. Right. So they'll judge you until all of a sudden they see the results. And then it's, oh shit, how did you do it? And it's like, it's not magic. You just need to know what you're doing and what you're not doing, and what are the areas that you need to improve. Right. So if they're judging you now or saying things, it's like, don't let it get to you. At the end of the day, you're the only one in the ring. You're the only one that has to take that competition on, right? Do you want to be happy with your results, the effort that you're putting in? If so, then, that's all that matters.
Mm-hmm. Patty said, I only count my push-ups, LOL. But that's a great example, because now Patty's busting out like 40, 50 push-ups. I'm sure in the beginning she wasn't doing that.
I mean, there was that phase that she was busting out like 50 a day and tagging people in it.
Yeah,
that's how I know. I made a comment last week, and I was like, "Where are all those push-up videos at?"
Yeah, but she couldn't have gotten to doing that many
100%
push-ups without like putting the reps in.
Right.
You know what I mean? And those reps are like every single rep of the push-ups, but also the reps of every day, constantly doing them over and over again, is what led you to being able to do that higher number now.
Yep.
You just got to keep your arms straight.
And just realize that, like, even if you fail at, let's say deadlifting, right, or any lift, going into kind of what Geraldine's doing, like, getting stronger and stuff, just because you failed at a rep, right, a physical rep on lifting, doesn't mean that you failed. Like, that failure is still a rep of learning, of growing. It didn't work that time. Why? Was your nutrition up to working out on point? Because again, if you're trying to get stronger, there's a certain way you need to eat. There's certain timing that you want to eat if you want to maximize performance. If you're not tracking when you're eating, you're not tracking what you eat when you eat it for competitions like powerlifting and stuff like that, then again, those are the smaller X factors that will improve, your lifts and your strength and your results in recovery and all that kind of stuff, right? So you got to realize that failure, there's learning in the mistakes, there's learning in the failures as well. Those are still reps. That way, when you come back next time, you can adjust and you can do it better.
Yeah. And it kind of goes into a little bit what I mentioned earlier in the intro. It's when you do realize, or when you're supposed to track, but when you do realize that, the current reps that you're doing aren't up to par or up to standard yet, don't just keep doing the same thing that you're doing.
Right.
Because then you gotta take those, you gotta take the lessons and the appropriate adjustments and apply them to your next rep. Because again, kind of like another example we had in the past, it's like if you're doing like a bench press or whatever, and you're doing it wrong, it doesn't matter how many you do, and you're trying to go up in heavier weight, because it's like you're not going to be able to go up or successfully do it right, because you're not understanding what you're doing wrong, or what the things that you need to change to be able to properly do it right.
Right. I mean, it's just consistency. Consistency over time, it starts to compound to your success, to your results. Again, like I've used this analogy before, but you work out one time, you look at yourself in the mirror, and you're not going to see any results. You go to the gym again, you bust your ass, you throw up, you do whatever, look at yourself in the mirror, exactly the same. Do it again, next day, third day, same thing. But again, the 100th day, the 1000th day, all of a sudden you lift up your shirt, completely different person. But it's over time, it compounds just like a stock, right? Over time, you get paid those dividends, and those dividends compounded over time start to, build real success or real wealth, essentially, of what your results are, right? So
how consistency over time? Oh no, not that one. The 100,000. We already did that now.
No.
Oh.
So I mean, like that. Why does the 1000th rep matter, and why does it come through why does mastery come through basically the constant consistency compounding over time, right? Like we kind of went back into like, the basketball analogies and stuff like that. Why does Kobe Bryant, or why did RIP, why would a current basketball player shoot their 1,000th, basketball free throw in practice, before practice? And why would they do that? They've already, done it, 999 times. What does that 1,001 really matter?
Because mastery doesn't happen overnight. It's like the result of doing something repeatedly until it becomes second nature.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? Like kind of like what we've mentioned in the past with like skills. It's like you gain that skill by doing it over and over again, but it's something that you have to continuously do until it becomes like now that's your norm, right? And that's but you have to upkeep it, or else
Right.
you know what I mean? If you don't use it, you lose it. Like for example, a master pianist was like
What?
pianist. Is that how you say it? Pianist?
Yeah, pianist.
Like,
Pause.
just an example, a master piano player was practiced, their scales thousands of times. They have to keep practicing it. Yes, it is their new norm, and like it is their kind of like their standard, but they have to continuously do it. It's like, or else you're gonna get rusty in a sense. Or a seasoned entrepreneur who has pitched investors hundreds of times. That's a great one too. It's like the way you speak, the way you kind of approach conversation, the way you kind of paint the vision and articulate the messages that you're trying to get to the other person, and also kind of effectively communicate with them. That actually goes straight into like sales too, or even just being a good communicator. It's like if you don't do it, if you don't continuously do it and keep working on that skill continuously, you're gonna lose that standard.
Right. I mean, even going into that, like, it's not just about the pitch itself. Like every time, let's say for a seasoned entrepreneur that's, trying to pitch an idea, or even for like us, like we're selling franchises and stuff, and it's like the first time that we went on and gave the pitch or gave the concept and stuff like that wasn't as fine tuned. Like we created the business, like we know every answer that we can give, but it was like, what questions did they ask? Like obviously we didn't convey the message well enough that those questions were asked, even though we gave a version of the answer in the presentation. So the next time we did the presentation, all of a sudden it was adjusted a little bit to try to answer that question. Third time, it got more questions, again, adjusted and so forth. So by the end of the presentation, now there should be almost no questions or very few questions going into the mastered what?
Piano player. Pianist.
Pianist. But them being able to play and not look at the keys, right? Like think about that.
Ray Charles.
Okay, well, wow. Yeah, I mean, he didn't get to look at the keys either. Wasn't
watching Disney Channel.
Was damn. Oh man. Yeah, he didn't get to watch Disney Channel, but either. But but going into like a piano player, like they get to that first, they're looking at the keys, looking where their fingers are going to hit, and then they might be hitting the wrong key over and over and over again, and realize it's not because they don't know a key to hit, but it's the way that they're sitting or the way that they're angled. So to play that song, they have to sit a certain way, and then it gets to the point where they can literally close their eyes or act like Ray Charles, and
Or
and
Stevie Wonder. Wait, hold on. I'm sorry. I have to get it out there. How do you think they learn the keys? Like just the note. Look.
I don't know, man.
I think like there's like a braille on the. Is that? That's my theory. I don't know. Maybe.
touch the table real quick, fast. Like you hit it with a piano key. Can you feel what you're touching besides the table?
Yeah.
Besides the table?
Yeah.
How are you reading braille that fast?
That's his skill.
It's probably learned through like, the note. This is, and they probably sit in the same position, right? So like, I know, like, if I reach out here, I'm gonna hit you, right?
Uh-huh.
Like I know you're there because you already know it. So it's like when I sit in a certain position, I know my arms are here. I'm hitting these keys. If I move my arms out here, so it's all through. Yeah,
I got you.
I don't think there's Braille. I mean, I might be wrong. And plus, if Ray Charles is having Braille, you ever see how fast that dude moves his head? Like, how can he'd be like, how is he reading Braille thinking? I don't know. Side note.
But the amount of reps they must have had to put in was immense. And that's a mastery skill. That's what you call a master pianist.
Yeah. So I mean, it goes. I mean, even like sports, right? A pitcher that learns how to throw a curveball, like Nick's taking this conversation. You throw a curveball the first time, and it's not going to curve the way you wanted it to. You throw You good?
Get it together.
It's not going to curve the way you wanted it to. But and then you throw a fastball or a slider or whatever the case, and like the pitch doesn't go the first time the right way, but it's all about how you hold the ball, how you throw it, all those kind of things. So again, it's practiced over time. The reps put in, and then it starts to become second nature. That now you can do it in a game. Now you can do it under high pressure without having to worry about it, right?
Mm-hmm. Patty also said, "Shout out, Patty. With this challenge, With this challenge is not easy, but I see the change." See, and actually, that's a great point. A lot of people kind of asked us previously, like, why is your challenge 11 weeks? It's like because it's a lot longer than a lot of the other challenges that you guys may have, come across in the past. But the reason why it's for 11 weeks, so that you guys have a longer time frame to develop the skill and put in the reps, not of consistency on the workout, and also the proper eating habits in a longer time frame, so it becomes your second nature.
Right.
You know what I mean? So that's your new norm. So that after the 11-week challenge is done, you guys are able to keep implementing the things that you guys have learned, both in your nutrition and your eating habits and your workout habits as well. So that way you guys pretty much don't just do something like a crash diet super fast, short term, and then boom, you go right back to where you were. So you have a longer time span to put in the reps, but also keep progressing every single rep that you guys are putting in. And when I say rep, I mean that generally with the workouts and the nutrition aspect of it, so that, after the challenge, it becomes like, who you are.
Yeah, because I mean, in 11 weeks, you got to think that there's going to be days, there's going to be weekends that events happen. There's going to be mess ups. There's going to be mistakes. And so realizing that you have to get back on track and adjust to next time that event or next time a similar event happens, what are you going to do? 11 weeks gives you the proper amount of time to do it and to almost create a habit or a second nature of this is your new norm. I mean, you guys are used to you doing, 6-week challenges, maybe even an 8-week challenge. There's a little more rare, but usually a 6-week challenge because a lot of other gyms do that. But again, why do they do a 6-week challenge? And it's not because 6 weeks is super beneficial and it's a magic number. It's because how many 6-week intervals can someone fit into a given year? And now is it more beneficial for you or is it more beneficial for the business? Right? Yeah, we could have done a 6-week, we could have done a 4-week and ran a few of them. Right? But that wasn't our purpose behind it. I mean, for the first 2 years of the business, we didn't even have a challenge. People were asking for it. We didn't create it yet because we didn't have the system that we wanted to have in place for you guys yet, knowing that we only do the challenge twice a year, right? We could have fit a third one in, but we only wanted to do it at certain points of the year to essentially create a kickstart for you and build the habits lasting through. So in the beginning of the year, right when everyone's, gung-ho about working out, but now leading into summer, right? And then the second one's after summer ends, before the holidays, because that's when typically people start to fall off. So again, it's to build those habits and to build the mindset and the understanding of what you're capable of and how to adjust around essentially adversity or challenges or, obstacles, which is the holidays. And how are you going to adjust accordingly to stay on track to the best of your capabilities during those holiday seasons, right? And then again, in the beginning of the year to kick you back off and get you ready to go again. So that's why we did the 11 weeks. And it is hard. Believe me, 11 weeks is hard to stick to anything. But if you do stick to it for 11 weeks, think about how many things you've just developed and how many skills you've just developed within yourself, and realize that you could stick to that for that long when you've been struggling to stick to it longer than 6 weeks, right? Now you just did it for almost double the time, and you're like, oh, wow, it got easier.
Mm-hmm. And going off of what you just said, Patty dropped in a comment that I just passed a taco stand and I said no! Exclamation point, crying, sad face. So with that, look at that conscious action of you saying no, and you repeatedly doing that. And what most of, if not all of the members that have done the challenge, especially towards the end or even after the challenge, they all come to that realization like, damn, I've come so far and made so much progress with that long enough time frame that they don't want to just throw everything away. Right. And that was one of the main goals that Devin and I had for with the time frame, a longer time frame with the challenge, is that so you guys have enough time to gain a decent and a good amount of progress, that afterwards you realize like, man, like this is my potential so far. You know what I mean? I don't want to just throw it all away. And then the next question is how much more I can do. How much more can I do? They're usually like the members' questions are like, when is the next one? You know what I mean? So that was like our ultimate goal with it. Is like when you guys realize and put in the reps, both with the habits of working out consistently and the proper eating habits, it's like that becomes your norm, and now you're chasing for more. And on kind of like the thought behind it is just putting in constant repetition.
No, yeah, exactly. I mean, it takes time, and you got to realize you have to have patience with it. You have to stay committed. You have to stay disciplined. But at the end of the day, realize that some things you're going to have setbacks. Like we were saying, you're going to have some setbacks. You're going to have some obstacles or some bad days, right? And realizing that that's okay. But just because you had, I'll use myself as an example, like I love breakfast burritos. I don't remember the last time I had one, but just because I had a breakfast burrito, let's say, doesn't mean the rest of my day I should eat like shit, right? I just adjust accordingly, or I go back to the plan, and then the next day I'm like, okay, I shouldn't do that, kind of thing. Mm-hmm. But realize that you can still get back on course the same day or the following day, depending on when the event happens. You don't need to wait until the next week, till the next month, or the next year to do so. Like start now, right? When was the best time to plant a tree? Yesterday, right? So it's like, why not just start now and get back on track right now? Let's say Patty did stop at the taco truck, which again, seeing the social media posts, good job, Patty. If you really didn't stop,
said in the comments earlier, like I didn't have that beer.
Okay. I mean, all I'm saying is the proof I had was the video of the beer in your hand. But either way, I believe you.
Only she knows what happens behind closed doors, and only she will reap the benefits or non-benefits of those actions that you took, whether you took or you didn't take that beer. No, just saying. I'm just saying.
I don't think she did. I just like to give her a hard time. But honestly, she has been really disciplined and stuff. And I think that video was made to tempt one of us, to say something or see if we're watching, and we're watching, But realize that it's the discipline and the showing up, right? The discipline in doing it when no one's looking, right? When no one's looking, right? If you didn't post that video of you grabbing the beer, like if you did have it or didn't have it, right? You're the only one that really knows. You not stopping at the taco truck. Again, no one really knows except for you. But when no one's looking, what are you doing? Are you putting in the reps, or are you only putting in the reps when someone is watching and can give you that pat on the back, like, oh, wow, I can see you're working super hard. And then you know that you're only putting work in when other people can give you that praise, right?
Yeah, and I think at least like while you were saying that, in my head, I kind of like wanted to, how I think about reps and everything, even if it's like, food or like on like my actions or working out. It's like the quality of the reps. I treat I don't work out a lot, but when I do, yeah, I'm tired. like I don't say that, you know what I mean? But am I physically like fatigued? Yeah. I'm being honest with myself. But when I am in that moment of working out, I don't give that as an excuse to not give it everything that I have, or at least my full intent to that workout. And in that workout, every exercise, every rep, I treat every single one like if it was my last rep. You know what I mean? I mean, I don't want to get like too deep, but when I think of reps, like I think of life. Like I always treat it. I think of like everything that I do is a rep that like pretty much I could in my life. It's like that's why like that my favorite saying, like how you do one thing is how you do everything. It's like every rep that I'm gonna do, whether it's working out in the gym or a shift,
Shit.
shift, a shift or like
Every shit you take is like the last one. Got it.
could be no, but
Then tomorrow at 6 a.m. hits and
not shifts, but or even just a certain task here at work, or an engagement, a conversation with Nicole or my parents or anything like that. You never know when your last rep is your last rep, so you better put every single ounce of energy and full intent that you have into those reps. So
no, yeah, definitely. I thought you were about to start like spitting some Eminem. No, I honestly I agree with you 100%. Right? I mean, realizing that you can celebrate the small wins, and I mean, I'll say it first time on air. We actually got our first franchise deal, so it is official. We're going to be expanding into Tampa, Florida.
Strive is in Tampa, Florida.
And we have a few other ones that are in the works as well. But it's those small wins, right? And so even with that, like, yeah, Nick and I have a couple crazy weeks coming up, but like we still plan on like celebrating a small celebration kind of thing. Like, we're rewarding ourselves for doing that. Nothing crazy, nothing over the top, but also to let our subconscious know that this is something that we want, right? Something that we see as basically good or an approval of our own self. Because if you don't celebrate the small wins, like let's say after the challenge, you, you know, take your family out to dinner, or go on a little vacation, whatever the case is, because of all the work that you put in for the last 11 weeks, now you're celebrating that. So your subconscious knows that you're giving yourself praise for doing what you did, right? So you have to celebrate the small wins so that your body starts to see those opportunities to basically get another celebration, right? But if you're only doing the celebration that other people give you, then you're only going to be looking for the opportunities that basically to do or put in the work or put in the reps when other people can give you that celebration or that praise or that high five or, that slap on the butt, because Nick always tries to slap my butt. But with knowing that, realize that it takes time. You have to trust the process, and it may not happen today. It may not happen tomorrow, but it's one of those things where, like, even with the gym, it was for me, it was going to happen eventually. Right. So before I even met Nick, like I used to tell, my girlfriend at the time, now wife, Gabby, I was like, look, it's not a matter of if, it's just a matter of when. Like it's going to happen. Right. And it did, because that's what I told myself and worked on continuously. And then me and Nick, linked up. And then again, we worked on continuously day after day after day. And now look at us.
Yeah, we got married.
Whoa.
No, I'm just kidding.
Whoa.
You know how they say it's a marriage.
I mean, just realize that the videos can be taken out of context and clipped. We did not get married. Disclaimer.
No, not that. Business partner kind of thing. Full disclosure.
No, did he?
I just wanted to. I can't even think of the word. I just want to acknowledge. Just want to acknowledge, like when you had given the big news, Geraldine said, "Hell yeah!" Exclamation point. So grateful to be part of this team. We're very grateful and blessed to have you part of the team as well, G. And we're going to the top, baby. Natalie gave us claps and below. Thanks, Nat. Alondra. And then Rena said, yes, congrats, guys. Thanks, Rena. Appreciate it.
Thank you. But what else are you guys, putting the reps in right now? I would, do a couple more minutes. I want to hear what else you guys are doing.
I do want to say, actually, kind of in addition to you saying that, celebrating the small wins.
Yep.
So I'll be fully honest, like, this is like my train of thought, is like from earlier today when, after that meeting and everything got finalized,
Mm-hmm.
I was like immensely happy. It was like a, internally, like it was like a big like jump. You know what I mean? Like you weren't with me, you were virtually, but I wanted to hug you and stuff. But
Which you normally do, but okay.
but like literally, like as Patty said, strive nationwide. You already know it. But like maybe like 30 minutes afterwards, like when I left the gym, the first thing the next following thoughts that came to my head, bro, is like, what are the following reps now that I need to practice and that I need to like literally hone in on for us to grow, like get to the next step now. Literally, I'm not kidding. And I told Nicole this, like I was driving and I called her because I told her the news and I'm like, she was like, are you happy? And I was like, I'm super excited, a little anxious, you know what I mean? And she was like, your face doesn't say it. But it's because at that moment, bro, I was thinking, obviously you, but I'm not speaking for you, but for myself, I was like, how do I need to better myself next? What are the next skills do I need to stop fucking around with? And what are the things I need to get together so that we can hit the next level from where we are now? Literally, bro. And like
Yeah.
she was like, you are who you are.
No,
And, you know what I mean?
you are who you are, yes, but you are who you are because I will take that and say that we learn and adapt, right? And you and me complement each other so well because that is something that we both share, is that we're able to adapt very quickly to any obstacle, whether it's one or the other of us figuring out the solution. Like we knock it out. I mean, that's what we were talking about before the podcast. Is like Monday. Obviously this weekend's a big weekend, but Monday is we're literally meeting bright and early and like I'm showing you the next steps that I'm going to be doing with them and what you're going to be doing, and we're going to game plan around it. And we already talked about some of that stuff, but again, some of those things that you learn or that we learn over the first few franchisees is like that's how we perfect it for the 5th, the 6th, the 7th, the 8th, right? So with some of those things, it's like, again, we talked about this on a few episodes ago, is like you focus on the task at hand. Like, what do we have to do today and tomorrow? And then let's do that. And then when we do that, it's like, okay, now what do we do today, tomorrow, and so forth, right? So you focus on what you need to do today. At the end of the day, you set up what you need to do for tomorrow, and you focus like that. And if you keep doing those kind of things, again, you're fine. If you start to focus on shit, what am I going to have to do when they open their doors, or what happens when their systems are all set up and then a flood happens and it's like, well, shit, it hasn't happened yet, so let's figure that out when it happens, like if it happens ever, right? So it's not about the what ifs all the time. It's just like, look, we know we need to do this, so let's do this.
I'll shit on the current rep.
Yep, exactly. And you basically plan the next rep, right? With what you've done, this, the data that we've accumulated from this rep and knowing what we know. It's like we opened this one, we have the data from ours. We have the last fucking almost 2 years, outside not a year and a half of doing this. It's like a lot of the systems and stuff are in place already, right? So it's like now we just need to implement and then adjust as we implement, right? So that's what I will say to calm any nerves and stuff. I mean, it's nervous, it's exciting. It's it is what it is. I don't know. Can't comfort you too much on the unknown, right? We face the unknown and then it becomes known.
100%. Patty said Nick and Devin coming to a screen in Florida soon.
No comment. But with that being said, guys, thank you guys for tuning in to another Friday Night Live. We do appreciate you guys, and we appreciate the support. For the few people that keep hopping in the comments, we love it. And for the other people that are too shy to hop in the comments, don't be shy. There is no judgments. For the most part, there is no dumb questions. That's just regarding someone that wanted us to do some weird, stretch kind of thing on the last one. Again, 99.99% of the time, not a dumb question. Ask it. We want you guys to contribute. That's why we do it live. Otherwise, we would just record it, the audio version, and put it out there. So thank you guys so much for the support, thus far on the Mindset Cafe with Strive 11, and everything else that we're doing. And we do appreciate you guys, each and every one of you guys, and we love y'all, and we'll see you guys on the next one. Peace.
No negative vibes, only positive thoughts. 'Cause in the